So if you're looking for a country that's just full of historical contradiction, I mean, where ancient stones sit right next to skyscrapers
Yeah.
and global finance is measured by a clock on a medieval tower, you've come to the right place. We're doing the ultimate deep dive into England.
We really are. And it's such an essential topic for any learner because its influence, in language, in governance, in culture, it just so vastly exceeds its physical size.
Right.
So our mission today is to get past the cliches. We're not just talking tea and royalty. We're going to synthesize the core facts, connect you with the pivotal figures, and really analyze the political structure to give you a complete picture of what England is in 2025.
Exactly. And let's get that core identity set straight away.
Right.
England is, well, it's the largest and most populated of the 4 countries in the UK. We're talking around 57 million people today.
And that's key. It dominates the UK politically and culturally, but it's still geographically pretty small.
And that small footprint is so central to the whole story.
It is. If you look at the lay of the land, England takes up the southern two-thirds of Great Britain. It's bordered by Scotland and Wales. And it's famously, rolling hills and plains, which made things like agriculture and internal travel historically quite easy.
But the geography also defines the mood, doesn't it? The climate is mild, but it's famously wet, cloudy. It's not about dramatic extremes. It's more of a constant, gentle dampness.
Which is precisely why talking about the weather stops being small talk and becomes a serious national preoccupation. It's part of the fabric of life.
A very serious one.
But there is physical drama. You go to the north and west, and you have the Pennines, people call it the backbone of England, and of course the iconic Lake District.
And just for the numbers, the highest point is Scafell Pike. It's only 978 meters. The longest river, the Thames, is 346 kilometers long, and it's really the lifeblood of London.
They're humble figures on a global scale, but they absolutely define this dense, very managed landscape.
Okay, so let's talk governance, because I think this is where a lot of people get confused.
Right. So England is part of a constitutional monarchy and a parliamentary democracy. It's not an independent state. It's a political part of the sovereign UK.
So you've got 2 heads. On one hand, the head of state, King Charles III, who came to the throne in 2022. And on the other, the person actually running the government, the head of government. Right now, that's the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer.
And the king's role is subtle, but it's still powerful. He's the sovereign, but he doesn't rule. His influence comes from, constitutional oversight, the right to advise, to warn, to encourage. He represents the continuity of the state.
Right, separate from the day-to-day politics.
Exactly.
So what about that famous royal motto the sources mentioned? Dieu est mon droit. I mean, it's French. God am I right. Why is a British monarch's motto still in French?
It's a fascinating historical anomaly, and it tells you so much about England's identity. That motto goes back to the 15th century, but it links all the way back to the Norman conquest in 1066.
Wow.
It reinforces the idea that the monarch's authority comes directly from God, not from Parliament. Now, of course, today that's purely symbolic, but it's this enduring legacy from a time when the entire ruling class spoke French.
I love that. It's not just a translation. It's a whole story about centuries of power struggles. And that history, that stability, it's bred massive economic power.
Absolutely. England really drives the UK economy. It's powered by finance, tech, manufacturing, tourism. It's very diverse.
And that strength has to be linked to its education system, right?
Inextricably. It's a fiercely competitive system. You've got compulsory education from age 5 to 16.
And the universities are just these global factories for ideas. We're not just talking about prestige. These are places that fundamentally shape how the world works. Oxford and Cambridge, of course, but also Imperial College, London for science, and the London School of Economics, which generates so much global political theory.
That's the foundation. Now, before we get into the thinkers that these places produce, let's do a few of those fascinating, quirky facts you wanted.
Let's do it. So all that history means landmarks. And we're talking more than 600 castles scattered across the country. The sheer volume is just astonishing.
And tying back to the economy, London was a real pioneer. It launched the world's first underground railway back in 1863, a revolutionary piece of infrastructure.
Totally changed modern cities. And finally, that truly English experience, tea. The sources confirm it. People in England drink about 100 million cups of tea every single day.
That is a serious commitment to ritual.
It is a ritual you probably need to prepare for the kind of drama we see with England's political and intellectual titans.
Yes, the figures who shaped not just England, but the modern world. And let's start with the monarchy. You can contrast the ultimate Tudor power player with the modern embodiment of restraint.
Right. The ultimate drama has to be King Henry VIII. It's not just the Six Wives. His real impact was engineering the English Reformation. He broke with Rome to get his male heir, and in doing so, he reshaped England's religious and political landscape forever.
And you contrast that turbulence with Queen Elizabeth II, the longest reigning monarch. Her stability and her incredible commitment to duty over 70 years, it transformed the monarchy into a symbol of unity, not absolute power.
And beyond the crown, you get these political figures defined by crisis.
Mm.
Winston Churchill, with his bulldog spirit, he didn't just lead during World War II, he created the whole narrative of defiance.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, who completely dominated the 1980s. She redefined the economy, challenged the unions. I mean, she imposed these profound and, for many, very painful changes that still define British politics today.
And people still debate it. Was it a necessary shock to the system, or did it create divisions that never healed?
Exactly. That's one of the central questions.
And we can't forget the anomaly, Oliver Cromwell, who for a brief time in the 17th century got rid of the monarchy entirely, made England a republic. It's a powerful reminder that the crown wasn't always a sure thing.
Now, let's switch from political power to intellectual power. The sheer weight of English contributions to science it's staggering. These weren't just inventions. They changed our whole understanding of reality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Start with Sir Isaac Newton. Gravity, calculus, the laws of motion. I mean, he didn't just contribute to science. He practically laid the groundwork for the modern scientific method itself.
And that tradition just continues with Charles Darwin. His theory of evolution by natural selection reshaped all of biology, and it challenged deeply held religious and social norms around the world.
But the practical application is just as vital. Think of Alexander Fleming discovering penicillin. That one discovery arguably saved more lives than any other medical breakthrough in history.
In the 20th century, you have Alan Turing. He cracked the German Enigma code during World War II, which was a huge turning point, and he's rightly hailed as the father of computer science.
Just incredible. And the Industrial Revolution, that whole global shift, was fueled by James Watt's improvements to the steam engine. That intellectual assembly line really did change the world.
And that same depth, that same intellectual power just permeates the culture, especially literature. This is maybe England's most prolific and enduring export.
Absolutely. The foundation of the English language arguably rests with William Shakespeare, the Bard. His plays still define human psychology 4 centuries later.
And then the social chroniclers who followed him, Charles Dickens capturing the grim reality of Victorian England, and Jane Austen, who used this razor-sharp wit to dissect the social pressures on women.
And it continues right up to modern thought. George Orwell's 1984 and Animal Farm are still these essential warnings about totalitarianism. And then you have the world-building genius of J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. They basically set the template for all modern fantasy.
And that rebellious spirit just leaps into pop culture. England has fundamentally changed how we listen to music. Multiple times.
You can't even talk about modern music without the Beatles. They didn't just have hits. They revolutionized songwriting, album production, fashion, a global culture wave.
And then, as a contrast to their sort of polite revolution, you have the Rolling Stones, the eternal rebels of rock, still going. And of course, David Bowie, the chameleon genius, constantly reinventing himself.
And today, that global reach is still there. Contemporary stars like Adele and Ed Sheeran, they dominate the charts worldwide.
So we've covered the intellectual history. Now let's ground this back in the physical reality. The stone, the soil, the majesty. The landmarks that tell England's story.
What fascinates me is the timeline you can literally see in the landscape. You start with this mysterious prehistoric past at Stonehenge, this massive stone circle engineered over 4,000 years ago, and we're still debating why.
And then you jump forward centuries and you get the arrival of empire, Hadrian's Wall. Built by the Romans, it's this enduring symbol of the northern edge of their world.
A massive undertaking. Then into the medieval era, you find these centers of power like the Tower of London, fortress, royal prison, and now it holds the crown jewels. It's centuries of history and brutality all in one building.
And the great cathedrals, too. Durham, Canterbury, these magnificent examples of Norman and Gothic architecture that speak to the immense power of the church.
But the concentration of current political power is all in London. the Palace of Westminster, home to the Houses of Parliament, and of course, the iconic Elizabeth Tower, which everyone knows as Big Ben.
The architecture of London itself tells a story. After the Great Fire of 1666, Sir Christopher Wren redesigned huge parts of the city. His masterpiece, St. Paul's Cathedral, with that famous dome, stands as a testament to resilience.
And if we're talking about global influence, we have to mention the Greenwich Royal Observatory. This isn't just a building, it's the place where the prime meridian runs. It literally defines the starting point for time zones and global navigation.
But England is so much more than its capital. The natural beauty is critical. The Lake District National Park, immortalized by poets like Wordsworth, is the largest park. Stunning, rugged landscapes.
And the coastal drama is so profound. The white cliffs of Dover. Those chalk cliffs have been a symbol of Britain for millennia, the first and last thing you see.
And the Jurassic Coast, down in Dorset and Devon, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's famous for its fossils. It's like a tangible timeline of millions of years of natural history.
And if you just picture the quintessential English countryside in your mind, you're probably picturing the Cotswolds, the rolling hills, the honey-colored stone villages, and of course, Sherwood Forest, home of Robin Hood, blending history and folklore.
And finally, you have the modern icons, the London Eye, that giant Ferris wheel, and the Shard, which at 310 meters is the UK's tallest building, a symbol of modern ambition.
And we can't talk about a global footprint without mentioning the British Museum. It holds over 8 million artifacts, including the Rosetta Stone. It's a collection that just powerfully embodies England's history of global exploration and, well, acquisition.
And that global reach brings us full circle back to the royal family in 2025 and its role today.
All right, let's focus on the key players. You have King Charles III, who became king in 2022. He spent decades advocating for specific causes, nature conservation, sustainable architecture. It gives him a specific platform, even though he now has to be politically neutral.
And the direct line of succession is critical to the future. That's Prince William, the Prince of Wales. He and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, have really centered their public work on mental health and early years education, very modern social issues.
The sources are also really clear on the work ethic of Princess Anne, the king's sister. She's often called the hardest working royal. Her dedication is relentless. Plus, she was an Olympic equestrian, which speaks volumes about her discipline.
And then, of course, beyond the core working family, you have Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They now live in the U.S. and have stepped back from official royal duties.
Right. And while they aren't funded by the taxpayer for those duties anymore, Harry is still very focused on veterans' issues with his Invictus Games.
Their decision really highlights that tension, that difficulty of balancing tradition with privacy and modern expectations.
So the picture of the monarchy today is complex. It represents stability and unity, symbolized by that ancient motto, God and my right. But it operates under this strict constitutional framework. The royal family are global cultural phenomena, but they don't make laws. That job falls entirely to Parliament and the Prime Minister.
It's a brilliant, if often paradoxical, system, ancient symbolism wrapped around a modern democracy.
What a synthesis. We've gone from the prehistoric mystery of Stonehenge all the way to the global finance that's tracked by the prime meridian. We've covered the laws of physics from Isaac Newton and the enduring power of the crown.
And the key takeaway is exactly what we said at the start. England's worldwide influence is completely disproportionate to its size. It's been driven by centuries of unrelenting intellectual, political, and cultural innovation that just keeps spilling across its borders.
So, as you process all this immense history and culture, here's the thought I want to leave you with. Think about the legacy of Queen Elizabeth II's incredibly long, stable, and modern reign, a reign that symbolized the restrained, contemporary monarchy. Now set that modern symbol against the sheer weight of history embodied by the British Museum with its 8 million artifacts, including the politically charged Rosetta Stone. What does that contrast between the monarch who represented stability and the artifacts that represent global reach and, let's be honest, at times appropriation? What does that say about England's lasting footprint and its historical responsibility on the world stage? That's your lens for exploring the future of this complex nation.